As I believe we're all aware, the fencing materials market has been a bit chaotic over the last year and a half. So to try to answer how we got here, where we even are, and when it might get better, I brought on Tony Thornton, who is the executive director of the American Fence Association, to talk about his latest report of the state of the industry for the fence installation industry. Now, this was a pretty long interview. It lasted a little bit over 3 hours. So we actually have cut it down into shorter snippets for each individual segment of the fencing industry. In this episode, Tony talks about the vinyl industry and what's going on with the price of vinyl fence. Guys, as always, if you find this content helpful or educational, go ahead and give it a like. Also, did you know that 94% of the people watching this video right now aren't subscribed? That means there's a pretty good chance that you're not subscribed. Take a quick minute and look right below this video. If that button is red, hit subscribe, and when you do, hit that notification bell so that YouTube lets you know each and every week when we have new content available. All right, with all that being said, let's dig in to this week's segment. This is Joe Everest, the fence expert. My family's been perfecting their way of building fence for over 60 years, 3 generations. While there's more than one way to build a fence, I'm here to share with you our way.
The vinyl industry is what we're going to cover first, okay? Most contractors are seeing about a 12 to 14 week lead time. Not all, but most, if you look at it from an average. And with that, that's not even including your transportation challenges. So we've got to talk about that on the tail end of this thing. The good news is, from my peers in the industry, it looks like a level off will probably start happening toward the end of the year. So a lot of you guys do vinyl. We know what the challenges are with product delivery and orders. They can't guarantee. They can just tell you, I'll get to it when I can. And all of you know that special order is just like gone. Just what I've got here, what I produce, fast and mass is what you're going to be able to get your hands on. So again, the good news is that hopefully we're going to see a little bit of a level off toward the end of the year. Now with that, we all know that we probably won't see much fluctuation in prices. I mean, once things go up, it's hard to come back down. 1 or 2 points, one way or the other, will probably kind of be where we are from an industry standpoint in the vinyl market. But these peers feel very, very confident that we're going to be in pretty good shape by the end of the year. So those are really the 2 bullet points up front. And I think all of you guys understand where those 12 to 14 weeks are coming from. So, Joe, I'm sure you've probably heard from a lot of your listeners is the fact that the reason for the vinyl challenge has been raw material, raw materials that go into the vinyl. I got a good friend that calls it the batter, everything that's mixed up, okay, that makes this vinyl. More specific is the one challenge that has happened to us is that I got to read this. It says, due to major U.S. plastic consumption, overall plastic consumption, rising, and the additives that go into the vinyl batter is what's really caused us the largest challenge. So even though the rising and the additives for the vinyl has been a challenge in our market, just think about all the other plastic components that's out there right? I mean, plastic, how many of us drink a bottle of water every morning, right? So anything and everything to do with plastic has put this challenge on it. And there's a lot larger producers of bottles and everything else that goes into plastic than the fencing industry. So we're kind of low tier when it comes to priorities of getting rising and additives to us. So just keep that in mind. Most suppliers and wholesalers have seen 50 to 60% cutbacks on delivery. And that's all because of the challenges of the raw material, the rise in the additives, and then the labor issues that we're going to talk about more specifically here shortly. So that's the biggest challenges that we're dealing with on the vinyl side. Again, special delivery, special orders. If you've got a close relationship, you may get, you're probably not.
Yeah.
But once you think about the 12 to 14 week delay on getting vinyl, then you've got to talk about, okay, how do I get it? Okay. Yeah. The challenges of getting that truck to you or that rail car to you. And we're seeing more and more demand for vinyl on the retail end at the big box movers, which is also causing us a lot of challenges in the industry as well. So the bullet points I want you to take away from the vinyl aspect is we're still averaging 12 to 14 weeks. Some are less, some are higher, but that's an average. Calculate in your transportation issues, and we're going to talk more about that later. But understand that these guys get it, okay? One specific area that we're going to talk about, every one of these disciplines that we're talking about, those manufacturers, those producers would love to add a third shift, a fourth shift. But then you run into the labor challenges. And if you don't have raw material to produce and you don't have the labor to produce it, then you are at what position you are. There's not much you can do. So that's kind of the high points with the vinyl issues. Again, the raw material shortages are improving. So hopefully we'll see some production flows increase. And then hopefully when a lot of this governmental agency entitlement stuff goes away, we'll see the labor force come back and you'll see a ramp up. And I think that's why my peers in the industry and the vinyl industry are saying that we're going to see a level off and an increase in production toward the end of this year, first of next year. What's your thoughts, Joe?
Yeah, much the same. So a friend of mine owns a pretty substantial plumbing company here in town. And so they've been dealing with this issue too, because think about all of your water pipes in new build homes are going to be plastic, right? Or a version of plastic. All your drain lines, we're talking about PVC, that sort of thing. But one thing you don't think about is he said, hey, they use resin in water softeners. They use resin in hot water heaters. They use resin in all of that too. So the cost of hot water heaters has tripled. And this is just how he explained it to me. So I haven't fact checked or anything, but he had said there was a big fire in a resin factory out on the Gulf Coast, and that company has come out and said, hey, with building costs the way they are right now, we're not rebuilding this right now. We won't be rebuilding the factory.
Right.
So to your point, resin is a major component in anything plasticized, whether we're talking about PVC, whether we're talking about anything plastic related. Resin is a big part of that, right? And so that's going to be a huge hurdle to overcome.
Well, let's also consider what we would say add-ons. Okay, so now let's get past the production. Okay, it's extruded, it's shipped out, and these guys are routing and getting ready to go out. Pretty much your job lot orders are a minimum. Okay, where most people are right now is give me a truckload of extruded product where I can route my own, and even that's a larger challenge. But now let's think about all the other pieces. It's the post caps. It's the vinyl, lights. It's the hinges, and all of those extra pieces that are put onto this vinyl project as an end result. All of those are having some of the same challenges.
Sure.
So, production in the U.S. or production overseas or wherever it's coming from, they're all fighting the same challenges, and it's the challenge of the labor and the transportation, if they can get it produced in their particular area. So I think you got to look at it as a collective area and all the pieces line up.
Well, yeah, and another component of that's going to be aluminum, right, for your stiffeners. I mean, that's going to be, I know we're going to get into ornamental here in a little bit, and
that's that add-on.
Yeah,
right.
Exactly. Yep. So one thing, and you hit on a couple of times. The one thing to make clear is, this 10 to 14 or 12 to 14 week lead time is for it to be complete and ready to ship, right? And like you said, we're going to touch on transportation in a little bit, but it could, if you're looking at 10 to 14 or 12 to 14 weeks, it could be 16 weeks before it's on your lot, or longer, depending on what transportation issue you're going through right now.
Look, we know as an industry that we've got some phenomenal U.S.-based manufacturers that are producing as fast as they can, as long as they can get the risins, the additives, the batter to put this stuff out. Like I said, they would love to ramp up a third shift, but without manpower and product, you can't do that. One thing that's occurred in every area of our market, unfortunately, I'm going to say this unfortunately, is the import product. The import product is trying to capitalize on the U.S.-based manufacturing being down,
Yeah.
And maybe they were able to get some product over there, or maybe the product wasn't or doesn't meet the expectations, especially the ASTM standards that we need it to be. But we've seen a huge influx in every area: vinyl, wood, chain link, pipe, everything that the U.S. manufactures, and most of us try to utilize and support. The imports are coming in from China, Japan, and other areas that are bringing the price down, but yet it's a lot of times a good product, but probably much less an inferior product than what we manufacture here in the U.S. That's just my opinion.
Yeah, but I would agree. In talking with other fence guys, like, in Nebraska or just in general, the feeling is I would like high quality material, but I need material.
Yes.
So I think that's what the that's the problem that the import market is capitalizing on is, there are contractors out there willing to accept lower quality goods in order to have material for their clients.
I've got more calls this year than any other time about, hey, what do you know about this product? What do you know about that manufacturer?
Yeah.
And I tell them all, be careful, because your credibility as a company is on the line. If you degrade the product that you're installing, it's going to show up as a defect a year from then, 2 years from then. It's going to ding you, your credibility as an organization and your company. So just be careful. Be patient. That's what most of these peers have said. Be patient. The suppliers are doing all they can. Manufacturers doing all they can. So I think that's kind of the high points on the vinyl aspect of it. Yeah,
the one silver lining, if there is one here, is that when you're talking to people in other industries, whether it's plumbing, heating, roofing, anyone, they're all facing these issues, right?
Absolutely.
So I say that to say the consumer has already heard this. The consumer already knows that there's issues with all products, getting anything in.
Yeah.
So, it's an easier conversation to have with clients right now to say, hey, listen, are there materials out there? Yes. Do they meet my standards? No. To get materials that meet my standards, it's going to take a little bit longer. If you're willing to wait for that, I think we'll have a better product.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Well, very good, Tony. Very good. I think that wraps up the vinyl. You got anything else to add on the vinyl component of the state of the industry?
No, I think that hits the high points. Be patient. Understand what your time frames are. Understand what we're going to talk about from the labor and the transportation issues here shortly. And I see some very good comments over here in your comment section. So.
Yeah. Yep. Absolutely. Very good.
Now, guys, as I said in the beginning, this is a multi-part series. We took about a 3-hour live interview and cut it into separate snippets and categories for different styles of fence. If you haven't watched the other videos, be sure to watch them now. And also, if you found this content helpful or educational, please consider giving a like. It really helps our channel, and it's absolutely free on your end. But for now, I'm Joe Everest, the fence expert, reminding you that good fences make good neighbors. And we'll see you next time.